What if everything you know about the discovery of America is a lie? What if Christopher Columbus wasn't a brave explorer, but an agent on a desperate espionage mission? Imagine a world where, in 1492, Europe didn't look west to find a new world, but to spy on an old one. A world where the Atlantic was not an empty void. It was the border of a mysterious, isolationist empire rumored to possess weapons of steel and warriors born of two worlds. No, this isn't a story about the discovery of a continent. It's the story of a geopolitical Cold War fought in the 15th century. A war where Columbus sailed not with a map to India, but with one dire mission: to gauge the strength of the lost Viking kingdom that had claimed America. 4 centuries before he was even born. Our journey begins, as it did in our history, around the year 1000 AD. The Viking explorer Leif Erikson lands on the shores of what we now call Newfoundland, establishing a small settlement he names Vinland. In our timeline, this foothold was a fleeting dream. They faced hostile natives, dwindling supplies, and the crushing isolation of the North Atlantic. The Norse abandoned Vinland within a few short years, leaving it to become a footnote in history, a half-remembered myth. But this is where our timeline fractures. Imagine a single change. A particularly brutal winter freezes the seas back to Greenland, cutting the small settlement off for good. A few hundred Norse men and women are now stranded, a world away from home. Abandonment is no longer an option. Survival is the only law. They could not conquer this new world with brute force. They were too few. So they did something else. They adapted. They traded. They intermarried with the local peoples. And slowly, a new culture was born from the ice and the forest. For 400 years, this new civilization grew in the shadows of history. The Norse ironworking skills merged with native knowledge of the vast, untamed continent. The iconic Viking longship was a master of the open ocean. But here, in the winding rivers and great lakes of the interior, it was utterly useless. So, they created something new. Learning from their new kin, they designed smaller, shallow draft vessels, blending clinker-built hulls with the agility of a canoe. They called them the Hrafn-Drecker, the river drakes. These ships became the arteries of a new empire, allowing them to project power from the St. Lawrence Seaway, through the Great Lakes, and down the mighty Mississippi River basin. Incredibly, this created a trade network that dwarfed anything in Europe. They called themselves the Skraeling Skjeg, the bearded natives, a people of two worlds. Their faith evolved with them. The old gods were not forgotten, but they walked a new land. Odin, the All-Father, became a wandering spirit of wisdom and war, his tales mingling with the legends of the forests. Thor's epic battles were retold as struggles against the terrifying Wendigo of the North Woods. Their world tree, Yggdrasil, became one with the Iroquoian Tree of Peace, a symbol of their new, unified identity. This powerful, syncretic faith bound together a sprawling kingdom of hybrid peoples, a civilization utterly unique in the world. By the late 1400s, the Kingdom of Vinland was the dominant power of North America. This was no land of savages. It was a network of fortified towns and trading posts, ruled from a capital city, nestled in the heart of the Great Lakes. Whispers of this power had reached Europe, carried by fishermen and merchants who told tales of tall, bearded men trading rich furs for iron, men who spoke a strange dialect of Old Norse and worshipped the trees and the thunder. But these were just rumors, dismissed by the crowns of Europe as sailors' fancy, until the sickness came. After 4 centuries of isolation, the Vinlanders had developed immunities to the pathogens of the Americas. When sustained, illicit trade began with European fishing fleets. They inadvertently unleashed a devastating new plague upon the Old World. The Vinlandic Plague, as it came to be known, swept through Europe in the 1490s. An invisible fire, one that crippled the burgeoning powers of Spain and Portugal, just as their colonial ambitions were taking flight. In this atmosphere of fear, plague, and rumor, the Spanish crown, desperate for any advantage, gave an Italian captain named Columbus 3 ships. His mission was not to find India. It was to sail west, make contact with the mysterious kingdom of the bearded men, and bring back a full report. Was it a potential ally, a rival, or a target for conquest? Columbus's voyage was not one of discovery, but of tense anticipation. He made landfall not in the Caribbean. He followed the northern route of the fishermen and on the St. Lawrence River. He was intercepted by a patrol of river drakes. He was escorted to a fortified trading post, a place where Norse longhouses stood ringed by Iroquoian palisades. He saw it all. The warriors with steel axes and faces covered in tattoos. The priests who chanted runes to the spirits of the forest. He saw a people united, strong, and deeply rooted in a land they had mastered. He was not a conqueror here. He was an envoy, an intruder granted a brief, terrifying glimpse behind the curtain. He returned to a plague-ridden Spain, not with promises of gold and glory, but with a dire warning written on his face. The West was already taken. The world we know was never born. The British Empire never rose to prominence. Its North Atlantic ambitions, checked by a powerful Vinlandic navy. Spain, ravaged by disease and intimidated by Columbus's report, turned its gaze towards Africa, leaving the Americas untouched. Our timeline's brutal history of colonization, of conquest and gold, was replaced by a tense, global stalemate. And the revelation is not just that America was different, but that its very existence changed everything. A new center of power had emerged. A civilization forged in fire and ice, standing as the undisputed master of the New World. Columbus died in obscurity. His mission, a failure that proved one world-altering fact. He had not discovered a new world. He had only trespassed on the shores of an empire that had been waiting for centuries.
So what do you think? What would that first major conflict between this American Viking Empire and a plague-weakened Europe actually look like? Let me know your theories in the comments below.